I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or hacked games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. I liked how you get to explore the towns in it until I noticed out of my peripheral vision that the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox as usual and left. I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note first and realized it was from my dear friend Kyle, whom I hadn't heard from in 2 weeks. I know that because I recognized his handwriting, though that was weird. What was weird is how it looked. It looked badly written and scratchy and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down and did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late, and I was hoping you to do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me, and if you don't destroy the CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc, and you'll destroy him, but do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please. Kyle. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked me. I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Anyway, I looked at the disc and it looks like an ordinary computer CD-R disc, except it had black marker on it written Sonic.exe. And it was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from someone else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the writing of the CD, I was actually excited and wanted to play it, since I'm a big Sonic fan. I went up to my room and turned on my computer and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome, because like I said earlier, I liked the classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place was when I pressed start. There was a split second when I saw the title image turn into something much different. Something that I now consider horrifying before cutting to black. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened. The title emblem was rusted and ruined. The Sega 1991 was now instead Sega 666. And the water had turned red, like blood. Except it looked hyper-realistic. But the freakiest thing that was in that split-second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding with 2 glowing red dots staring right at me. And his smile had stretched wider up to the edge of his face. I was rather disturbed about that image when I saw it, though I figured that it was just a glitch and forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed like that for about 10 seconds or so. And then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 popped up. And I was like, what the fuck? What's this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyway, then I noticed something was off. The background was the dark cloudy sky of the Bad Starter Speedway level from Sonic CD. And there were only 3 save files. The music was that creepy Caverns of Winter music from Earthbound. Only it was extended and seemed to have been in reverse. And the image for the save file where you see a preview of the level you're on is just red static for all 3 files. What freaked me out more was the character select. It showed only Tails, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now I was sure that something was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a classic Sonic game, for crying out loud? That's when I realized that this wasn't a glitchy game. It was a hacked game. Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy, but as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared. Or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that it was just a hacked game and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked file 1 and chose Tails. And when I selected and got started, the game froze for about 5 seconds and I heard a creepy, pixelated laugh that sounded an awful lot like that Kefka guy from Final Fantasy before cutting to black. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more, then it showed the typical level title thing. Except the simplistic shapes were different shades of red and the text showed only Hill, Act 1. The screen faded in and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in the Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. The music was different though, it sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing and had Tails start running like you would in any of the classic Sonic games. What was odd was that as Tails was running along the level, there was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the peaceful music started to lower down into slow, deep tones very slowly as I kept going. I suddenly saw something and I stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground, bleeding. That was when the music started to slow down. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I never saw him have before, so I had to move along. And he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more dead animals as Tails moved past them, looking more and more worried as the music lowers and he moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hanged on a tree with what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all 4 of his limbs torn off, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there were no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Tails to continue. After a minute passed after the music stopped, Tails was running up a hill and then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Sonic was there on the other side of the screen with his back against Tails, with his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but then his smile faltered, obviously noticing that Sonic wasn't responding to him. If not acting as if he was totally oblivious of Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move. So this had to have been a cutscene. Suddenly, I began to have a growing feel of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger and something bad was going to happen. I heard faint static growing louder as Tails was but inches away from Sonic and stuck his hand out to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open, and they were black with those red glowing dots, just like that title image, though there wasn't a smile. When that happened, the screen turned black and the static sound was off. It stayed black for about 7 seconds, and the white text appeared forming a message saying, "Hello, do you want to play with me?" At this point, I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game, but my curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level with a level title now saying, Hide and Seek. This time I was in the Angel Island level from Sonic 3, and it looks like everything was on fire. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures to me as if he wanted to get out of the area he was in as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the fourth wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. So I pressed down on the arrow keys as hard as I could and made him run as fast as he could. A pixelated version of that creepy theme When You Meet Shadow at the Ark as Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2 was playing as I made Tails trek through the desolate forest. trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. Suddenly, I heard that creepy laugh again. That awful Kefka laugh. Right after 10 seconds had passed as I helped Tails run through the forest. And then I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping everywhere on the screen. Again with those black and red eyes. The music changed to that suspenseful drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails slowly gaining up on him, flying. Sonic wasn't running, he was actually flying. The flying pose his sprite was making looked very similar to Metal Sonic's flying pose in Sonic CD. Except it was just Sonic and he had the black and red eyes again only. This time, he had the most deranged looking grin on his face. He looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, the music stopped and Sonic vanished. Tails laid there and started crying for 15 seconds. The scene was rather upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself, but then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come down those blackened eyes of Sonic's as a grin slowly grew from his face as he looked down at the horrified fox. I could do nothing but watch. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged at Tails right before the screen went black. There was a loud screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds. The text returned, only this time it said, "You're too slow. Want to try again?" And then that god-awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what had happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, he couldn't have. He and Tails are supposed to be best friends, right? Why did Sonic do that to him? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the character select. The save file that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but in the TV screen itself, which was flickering with that red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding. His orange fur had gone black, and he had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. The laugh came again, and the screen cut to black again and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time, the level said, "You can't run." I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack or some kind of sick, twisted joke. Or anything, really. But despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing. The next level looked much different. It had the ground of the Scrap Brain Zone. But the sky background looked like the main menu. It had the dark reddish cloudy sky, but it was the music that creeped me out the most. It sounded like Geiger's theme right after you beat Pokey and Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid just like Tails did, though not as much. Rather, he looked like a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall just like Tails and looked as if he wasn't sure about what was going on, but I made him move anyway. He ran down the straight pathway in this dark level, and as he did, the screen started to flicker red static a couple times, and then that maddening laugh came again. Then after a few seconds of running, I noticed several blood stains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear, thinking something horrible was going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated walking down this blood-stained road, but I still kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those black and red eyes, and then red static appeared again. When the static vanished, showing nothing but black screen with text saying, "Found you!" I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. And this time, that high-pitched squealing from the Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hoped to God it wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles in what appeared to be big pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and then punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit. That terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles again. Then I made him punch again. And Sonic vanished again, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and even I felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to his knees and clutched his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was driving us both crazy. And then in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles, and the screen went black with another distorted screeching noise that lasted for at least 3 seconds. Another text message appeared. So many souls to play with, so little time. Would you agree? What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time the second file box had Knuckles and the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to a reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too. And he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those are the actual characters trapped in those TV screens on the save files. But I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap. Wish I hadn't. Because I then began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in pitch black darkness, though I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us," and "Why did you give us to him?" and "Run away before he gets you too." The cries died out as I then heard Sonic laugh. His laugh. It sounded a lot like the distorted Kefka laugh. "You're a lot of fun to play with, kid. Just like your friend Kyle. Though, he didn't last long." I was scared and looking around for the source of the voice. "Won't be long now until you join him and all my other friends." I saw him walking toward me, flickering in and out in several directions. "You can't run, kid. You're in my world now. Just like the others." When he grabbed me and I saw his bleeding black and red-eyed grinning face, I woke up with a fright. After a couple of hours, I decided to continue playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening. So I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought that was wacky, playing as Robotnik, but anyway, the level title appeared again, and this time it said ... which I found really freaky. This time I was in some kind of hallway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, though it has the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were a dark grayish purple with animated candle lights and a few dark bloodstains here and there. And there was a dark red curtain hanging above on the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so that red curtain sways very slowly. But whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant, a piano playing a rather sad yet peaceful song. But I knew better. This was the song that played in Hill Act 1. Only it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a suspicious look on his face, as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I just left him standing. He turned his head to the left and then to the right at least twice, and shrugs at me, as if he has no idea where he was or what was going on. Even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen, I had Robotnik continue onward. He did his usual running animation. You know, when you've beaten him at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him. As we continued going through the hallway. Then I stopped at a long flight of stairs leading downward. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though I pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I've tried to go back with Robotnik, but he just always fell on the stairs. I noticed that the walls have gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches are now in eerie blue. Then we landed into another hallway. This one was longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed down another flight of stairs down. This one was much larger. Took at least 1 full minute. And then I heard that horrid Kefka laugh again, and then the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned more dark red and the torches were black flame now. When Robotnik landed into the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out, though he tried to hide it. I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik, the same way he did Knuckles in the red static. The red static lasted for about 15 seconds, and then it showed me a most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic Sonic standing in the darkness where you can only see his face while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur. As if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face. Oh God. He had the most horrifying smile I had ever seen. And that's saying something considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes are wide and black and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. And there were 2 small glowing red dots in those black eyes staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the sides of his face like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs. Very sharp fangs. Much like the werehog's teeth, except more vicious looking. Somewhat yellowish, and from the look of it, he had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs as if he ate some animal. I stared at that gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face. It just took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with red static again 3 times. And on the 3rd time I heard the Kefka laugh, except this time it sounded distorted. Demonic even. It went back to the image again, except this time there was the text again. Though it was messed up. But it was pretty much one of the most horrifying things I looked at since I had this game. I am God. It was when I read that message while looking at Sonic when it hit me. I realized right there and then. Then it stopped and showed nothing but a black screen. As I sat there staring at the black screen, one last text came up. Ready for round 2, Tom? The Kefka laugh, now sounding more clear as if Sonic was right behind me, played again 3 times as I looked at that text in shock and confusion. Then booted back to the main menu, and this time the 3rd save file had a TV image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin turned a dull gray, his mustache drooped and had blackened. His glasses broke and blood is coming from them, and he had a mere dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog, and always will be. The red static popped up once again quickly, an image of Sonic and Tails and some moving hellfire, and the sky being red. Sonic and the sun in his center, enlightening him. Sonic had the sun in his center, enlightening him, and he also had 2 white angel wings, and he was carrying Tails away by his red shoes, and Tails screaming for help. His face on the image was evident, and below right were the big letters of Game Over. Also, a reversed, creepy, relaxing piano melody was playing while the image was still being shown. This Sonic was a monster. A pure evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. And all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his little toys. And the game is the very gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world, and the very hell his victims are trapped in. Quick red static popped up once again, and a message in Japanese, wide small letters showed up, which translated to: there is a way to release ourselves, a spell to obtain our souls once more. But when we speak it, no sound. We are all deaf, so failure is inevitable. And I regret ever entering my internal bet with the devil inside of me. Immortality versus soul snatching. Gary Crook versus Jake Shanley. Ambition is overrated. The background of the text was red and black art and white, while this image, the text was still being shown. A chanting of Muslims can be heard. Now a quick to Sonic, which you can play while a bit of static is still shown, so you can move and play as Sonic in some static world. And then I moved forward and see a mutilated body on a stick with big white text letters saying, "You had a chance to comply. Now you've come too far." Then as I walk away from that, there is a mechanical metal grabber grabbing a small but mutilated body with red drops dripping off, and as I kept walking, I saw another one with a skeleton face pop up, but Sonic's gameplay still being seen, and then the skeleton face disappearing. Also in this unknown level, music is somewhat soothing and creepy also, like metal being scratched combined with whistling, and more. How would I explain it? In the second claw, I see looking the same as the earlier one. A text right next to it in the same big white letters is shown stating, "Can you hear them?" There. And then stating pop-ups while a black and white only face made creepy of Link quickly pop-ups close to him and then disappears, and the skeleton face did. Then I kept walking, and the text I see continues stating, "Can you hear them? They're trying to tell you something." Then a female scream is heard with the face of a woman in black and white quickly appearing and leaving. Her eyes were pretty and cute, though, despite being all her face being in all black and white. Then I continued walking, and a skeleton face does the same again, and the same scream is heard once again. And I see another mutilated body on a stick. Looks like a sword made of flesh and hearts. And then I walk and see another one of those sticks and another grabber with a text next to it stating, "Oh, playing with them was such fun. Almost as fun as you, Tom." And I walked reading this text. I see lots of grabbers around the text, and then I kept walking and see another grabber with the text. There was Gary and Jake and Kyle and Dallas and so many, many more. I kept walking with now that overwhelming sense of dread feeling once again after reading that text, and then I remain walking and see another stick with the next. It's time your soul joined theirs, Tom. Then a pink, black, swirling optical illusion replaces the static I was walking through, and with a reverbed telephonic sound, and then 3 grabbers are shown after the text. And I kept walking in the optical illusion with the path below it as the static, and with static, and then I saw words on my path that I was walking stating, obey, multiple times, and then again I see that word as it kept, and then again stated 2 times, those words being together while a woman starts screaming again. And then the status data for everything, my rings, my time, everything slowly fades, and then as it kept walking, I see 2 final grabbers. One small holding a small body with blood dripping from it, and one big one holding a big body with blood dripping from it. Then my gameplay of me who was walking in my path fades. Then suddenly, in an actual split second, I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly with his mouth wide open to an unnatural length. In that Sonic's face, his teeth were demonic and red blood was dripping from his mouth. In that length, it revealed nothing but a literally spiraling abyss of pure darkness before the red static came again. This time much louder and distorted, so loud that it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the red static screeched for a good 7 seconds. Then a Satan-like image of Sonic with red eyes and mouth and red mouth and red horns popped up, while the background of the image was a moving static, and then the woman screamed again. Then cuts to a Japanese text stating a final message, which translates to be honest, 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 to be honest. And then another one popped stating in English, I was killed, massacred, and angry. I killed until all my strength was gone. And yet they died with only amusement for the devil who rose to torture me. The background for both texts were red and black, this time with also the moving static. Then the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on no matter what I did. I sat there for maybe 25 seconds, horrified by what had just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who play his game in more ways than one, and then when he gets bored, he drags you into the game. Literally drags you to hell, where he can play with you, always, as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there, but at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper. Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom. I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Sonic plushie, smiling with bloodstains under its eyes. I then regret and realized Kyle had discovered this seemingly corrupted game and hadn't been subjected to its horrors. Kyle had obtained the haunted Sonic.exe CD through the Cult of X. This cult, dedicated to spreading the entity's influence, is responsible for distributing copies of the game. Kyle found the game disc and experienced its terrifying effects. The evil Sonic in this game is not actually the real Sonic the Hedgehog. it is the entity X, which has taken on Sonic's appearance to lure victims and which is served as God by the cult of X. The entity is a distinct being from Sonic himself, although it idolizes him. The game disc serves as a gateway to the dimension of an eldritch, interdimensional entity known as Sonic.exe, or X. This entity is born of dark matter and driven by a desire to enslave humanity and merge its world with Earth. The entity is in fact a separate being made of dark matter. Its powers and desires align with those associated with demonic entities, such as stealing souls and causing destruction. The entity is also the leader of the cult of X, dedicated to worshipping it as a god. The entity X is able to manipulate and control the game, using it as a tool to interact with the human world and trap victims. The disc itself acts as a gateway, and the entities serves Satan sometimes, but has a slightly more evil mindset than him, which is enslaving the world and more. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the sole creepypasta I have been wanting to read for quite literally the longest time. I said I wanted to, when I said there's several creepypastas I wanted to read, like Turn the Crank, Super Mario 64 Damned, I did want to read those. But the one I did want to read for myself, which is why I saved this one for last for the month, is because this was the first creepypasta I ever heard, well over almost a decade and a half ago. Yes, all the way back then, almost a decade and a half ago. And that was when the creepypasta was, like, a little after the creepypasta was first, posted. Super Mario 64 Damned did, in fact, haunt me. But that creepypasta has not haunted me as much as Sonic.exe did. This sounds crazy and stupid now, but back when I heard the creepypasta all those years ago, and I'm not the only one this happened to, but I was scared. This creepypasta actually terrified me. And Super Mario 64 Damned terrified me. Has terrified me for a decade now. A little over a decade now. And still, it will forever terrify me. But this, obviously, the story is absolutely terrible. And it's terrible because it was poorly written, chock full of cliches, and the grammar was just absolutely abysmal. And when I say abysmal, like, you could hear me struggling to read it at certain points in the story. Like, it was just that poorly written, so I was having trouble reading the story at certain points. And it's crazy to think that a story this terribly written not only maintained its popularity well over almost almost 15 years later, but is even more popular nowadays. What with, like the Sonic.exe, Friday Night Funkin' mod, all these like EXE games for like Luigi Kid EXE challenges he does every year, stuff like that. This creepypasta has grown from an absolute travesty of a story to like the status of something like To Kill a Mockingbird or something like that. Again, this story is the story is terrible. And yet it is even more popular nowadays than it used to be back then. And even then it was regarded as terrible. But yeah. I figured, you know what? If there is one creepypasta I need to read to finish the month of October off with, on Halloween, it was going to be Sonic.exe. Which is what I basically hinted at back on Sunday, reading Close Encounter with the Tails Doll, that creepypasta. I hinted that it was going to be another Sonic creepypasta. And I said, if you know anything about creepypastas, especially Sonic creepypastas, you know what it's going to be. It was very clearly Sonic.exe. It had to be this story. There was no way I could have done any other creepypasta on Halloween to finish this month off. It had to be this one. Because if it wasn't this one, I just absolutely could not do anything. Like, I just couldn't. Like, I knew when I announced I was going to be doing creepypastas on the weekends as well as Halloween Day for the month of October, I knew which one I wanted to start with for the month, which was me rereading Dark Square, the Toho 5 creepypasta. And I knew which one I wanted to end with, Sonic.exe. I planned the first creepypasta as well as the last two creepypastas. Even though the second to last one, the one Tails Doll one I read back on Sunday, wasn't the exact Tails Doll creepypasta I wanted to read. But I wanted to at least read a Tails Doll creepypasta, and I did, though it wasn't the Tails Doll Curse one, like the original Tails Doll Curse creepypasta. But I knew with how popular Sonic.exe is, especially nowadays, I knew 100% for certain I could find Sonic.exe like that. I could find it no problem. And I'm quite honestly glad I did. And I'm glad I finally got the chance to put this creepypasta to rest. As well as the month of October. But yeah, that was probably the most infamous creepypasta ever made, Sonic.exe. And as well as my October special, where I read creepypastas every day on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, as well as a very special one on Halloween. And if you want me to read creepypastas like every once in a while, like maybe like once or twice a month, feel free to let me know, because coming back reading creepypastas for this month was actually quite fun, and it brought back the love I had for wanting to read creepypastas again. So if you want me to like read creepypastas again, like once or twice a month, let me know. And let me know what creepypasta you want me to read. I'll gladly read it. But make sure it's one I haven't read already. But yeah, that is going to cut it. Thank you so much for all your support this month. And I will see you later.